Hi there. Welcome to today's PACT session, which is Peers and Clinicians Together. Today's focus is goal setting, getting on the same page, kind of, you know. Um, so little disclaimer here. This presentation was prepared by NTTAC under a cooperative agreement from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration. So the materials prepared here are pretty much not the views of SAMHSA. This event is supported by SAMHSA and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services as part of a financial assistance award over 5 years. So that's from 2020 to 2025. So you all can read a little bit more about that. Let's go a little bit into session security. Session security. In the case, and we really hope that none of this happens, but in the case that there is some type of security issue that comes up, please immediately, this session will immediately end, and please do not rejoin using that same link. You will be emailed further instructions on how to either rejoin or if the session will be rescheduled, so forth. All right. NTTAC. So NTTAC is the National Training and Technical Assistance Center. Here is a list of all of our partners. I will introduce myself in a second, but I'm from Youth Move National. We also have FREDLA, we have CARS, Change Matrix. You all see it. We have a host of different partners that come with this different expertise. Our vision and services. So our vision is pretty simple and clear. We want all children, youth, and families living with and impacted by mental health challenges to have access to whatever resources that they need or opportunities that they need in order to thrive in a comprehensive and equitable system of care. We offer all types of things from individual consultation to peer learning exchanges. 5 Things Digest are some of my favorites because those are like those 1 or 2 page tip sheets, right? That give you everything you need to know, or at least the basics about a specific topic. We also have communities of practice where you can learn or dig deeper in a shared kind of community on a specific topic. You name it. We also have training academies, which is also one of my favorite, which is a series of trainings on several different topics with a host of different presenters with special expertise. With that being said, let's move forward. Trying to get y'all through these NTTAC slides so we can get to the good stuff. Commonly asked questions. So in the follow-up for today's session, you will receive a certificate. A certificate will be emailed to all participants after the follow-up. Please make sure that if you need a certificate or if you have any issues, please email Bridget. You will also receive a copy of this presentation and can get a copy of this recording at the end of this session as well. If you need anything related to like follow-up, please email Bridget. Bridget's email is right here. And Bridget will make sure that you receive that information. All right. Whew. Now we are through the NTTAC slides. Welcome to today's session on goal setting and getting on the same page. I'm sorry, y'all. I thought I was on camera this entire time. I'm sorry. Okay. Well, getting on the same page. I am Jasmine Boatwright, and let me at least come on camera for a second so you can see my face. Hi. I'm a youth programs coordinator with Youth Move National. I'm also the co-lead of the NTTAC transformation team, which is Community Wellness and Peer Support, CWAPS for short. I've been with Youth Move National for about 6 years. Anything youth engagement, youth involvement, youth resource related, I'm probably a good person to go to. With that being said, I will go ahead and pass it to Millie.
Thanks, Jasmine. And I'm Millie Sweeney. I'm the Director of Learning and Workforce Development for FREDLA, which is the Family Run Executive Director Leadership Association. We're a partner with NTTAC, so I'm also a TA specialist, and I'm part of the same transformation team that Jasmine was speaking about, which is how we get things done within NTTAC. We have a couple of different teams. I am a clinician by training. However, I am a parent peer support provider as well. And my journey has been, I got out of doing clinical services because my kids took me in a different direction. I am a parent of 2 children with emotional and behavioral challenges. So I bring both professional and personal experience to this work. Today, we're going to do a couple of things, and it's going to be a little different. We usually, the whole purpose of the PACT series is bringing peers and clinicians together to learn how to collaborate, to learn how to work better, to learn from each other, so that we are more effective in working with youth and families. And today, we're going to talk about goal setting and when that works and when it doesn't work, when there's disagreement around it. So we first want to talk about, establishing goals with youth and families and what happens when you don't agree when you're part of the team. And that could be you as a clinician not agreeing with a peer support provider, whether that's a youth or parent peer support provider, or that no one agrees. The family doesn't agree with what you think should be a goal. We're going to use some Jamboard. We're also going to have some breakout discussions and some group discussion before we close for the day. I do believe that the series is going to continue into the next year. So you'll be looking forward, hopefully, to having more sessions as we go into the next fiscal year. So in the past, one of the things with the different sessions that we've heard is that everybody wanted more interaction. So we're going to do something a little different today than what other sessions have been like in the past. We are going to pull on the expertise of the field, and that's you. What you experience, the strategies that you have, and of course we're going to share a little bit as well, but we really want to make sure that this is about us working together and collaborating. So there's no formal presentation today. We're going to focus a lot on discussion as a group and with each other. We're going to use Jamboard, and we're going to do small groups to facilitate that sharing and learning. And we encourage you to be on camera if you can when we're in the small groups, but definitely to unmute and talk in those small groups. We'll try to jump around and help out. But we're going to do some things as a full group first. From what we learned today and what you share, we're going to take that information back to NTTAC and to our team, and we're going to come up with a learning tool for this topic that's based on the knowledge that we are gleaning from the field. And we're hoping to have that pulled together, graphically designed, all of that by September or October, and getting that back out. We actually hope to do that with a lot of the PACT sessions in the next year, so that there is a product coming out that you can continue to use. Any questions before we get started? Feel free to use the chat. And Jasmine, if I can't see.
Like you have to have really good insurance or be.
I'm sorry? Oh, maybe somebody just wasn't muted. Feel free to use the chat, and Jasmine, if you'll watch that while I'm sharing screen, that'd be really helpful.
Gotcha. Back.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the first thing that we're going to do is have some group discussion. And I want to use a Jamboard. If you're not familiar with using Jamboard, Bridget's going to put a link in the chat. And when you click on that link, it will bring you to this board. This is like a virtual Blackboard or something. We're going to use the sticky notes. So everyone comes in anonymously. Over to the left is your menu. And the fourth one down looks like a little piece of paper with a folded edge. That's the sticky note. That's what we're going to use. You click on that and you'll respond, and then you hit save on it and it will go onto the board. I'm just going to randomly type some things there. And it pops up, and then I can move them around and we'll talk about it as they come up. So let me get rid of it. So the first thing we want to talk about is when you are working with youth and families and you're part of a team. Bridget, yeah, you raised your hand.
No, I think you're about to answer my question. Go ahead.
Oh, when you are part of a team, when you're working with a peer support provider or you're working with a clinician, you're part of a team with that family. We're wondering, what is the common way? How do you develop goals with that youth and family? How do you do that? And if you could write that on a sticky note and put it on here, but you can also add it in the chat and we can put it on, or you can unmute and talk. I see Tracy has her hand up. Go ahead, Tracy. If you're able to unmute. Tracy, are you able to unmute? Okay. If you aren't, then you can type question, whatever, in the chat, and we can respond that way. Okay, so when you're working with youth and families, you're part of this team. What does that look like? You collaborate with family and board members. Your process is asking the youth or family what their goal is and what is it that they think they want to accomplish. You have a meeting to come up with the goals, short and long term, and you do that together. We ask CLs, not sure what that is. I'm going to go with community liaison for their goals. Oh, CLs, you probably are saying clients. In my world, we try to use families or youth. We ask them for their goals and what steps they need to take to achieve them and how can we help. That's excellent. By breaking down big goals into smaller ones, ask the family what they would like to see for their child. Using a strengths, needs, and cultural diversity survey to set goals and start conversations. That's an excellent way to do that because as you're gathering those strengths and you're learning about them and their belief system and family culture, you also are able to identify needs which inform your goals. That's a great way to do it. If goals are unclear, ask about their abilities, priorities, and capabilities to first establish goals. Help them by preparing talking points and needs prior to the meeting. Then the family has equal input time. Preparing families, if you're going to have a group conversation about goals, like you do in wraparound, is a great idea because it can be intimidating. And that's a great way to have them think ahead. What are their priorities? And simply asking, how can we help? I love that. It's right here at the top. How can we help? Let's see. Goal settings are established or obtained by establishing the significance of each, and then you collaborate on that. There's a blank sheet here. I'm going to just get rid of that out of the way. What are your concerns? Having them list their strengths. So does most everybody have a process that you follow? Especially if you're working with other providers, you're part of a team. It sounds like a lot of this has to do with asking families, asking youth what they would like to do. Do you go into this already thinking of some goals, having some in mind? Ask questions rather than dictate or judge? Yes, for sure. Move some of these around and make some room.
Millie,
Yes.
Brenda in the chat said, we all meet together at team meetings and talk out a goal plan. We work towards what is best for the family, ask what the family wants.
Great.
Oh, and I see Bridget added it to the Jamboard.
Yeah, thank you, Bridget. Does anyone, when they're working with families, either alone or as part of a team, come to a meeting with ideas for goals of what you think the family needs to work on? I'm looking to see if there are raised hands. Is there anything in the chat?
Not yet.
I'm really encouraged by the approach that everyone is talking about here, because that's youth and family driven. When the families are defining the goal, which is what it should be, because if we define the goals for them, then do you really think they're going to follow that or work on it? It's not really what they prioritize. You can assist, can ask open-ended questions. It's only human, but it's not about us, it's the family. Yes, yes, it is human, particularly if you've read like the intake paperwork and all of that, or even as you're going through like a strengths, needs, cultural discovery process. Even when you're doing that, it is absolutely normal to immediately, and I'm one of the people who I see something and I immediately start thinking about potential solutions I could propose, or, you know, and you kind of have to stop yourself from doing that. And you have to stop yourself from going, oh no, this is bigger than the other. Because we don't always know what the family's prioritizing. I want to share a little story with you from a parent peer support provider from the field who was working with a family who had all of their food in coolers. And so the person working with them said, we definitely need to get your refrigerator. You know, went out, got one donated, had it plugged in, all the stuff. All the food was moved into it. The coolers were moved out. And then the next time that she came out to the house, the coolers were back and the refrigerator was gone. And she's like, what's going on? It worked fine for them. The system they had is what they wanted. That's what worked for them. They had taken the refrigerator and they had sold it. And they had used that money to do something as a family. I think they went to like a fair or an amusement park or something. Their priority was having a way to spend time together. That was their goal, not the goal that the person working with them thought that they should have. And so it's really important to let families tell you what they want to work toward and what works for them and what doesn't work for them. You can come up with all kinds of ideas and share that with them and work through how those things could play out. But they have to define the goals. Otherwise, it's our goal, and that won't necessarily work for them. Does anybody else have any other situations like that where the family has not defined their goals and maybe you have done that for them? Usually very unintentionally. Anyone? Can share it in the chat. You can raise your hand. Okay, this is not going to be a very talkative group. How can we move forward together? I do like that. What is it that we can help with? Okay. So we have another question that we want to think about. Up here at the top, sorry, I just moved without telling you what I was doing. At the top, these are our frames. I want you to go to the second frame using this little arrow, and here's our second question. What types of disagreements have come up around goals? And that can be where you may disagree with what the family or the youth has come up with. It could be that you and the other provider on the team disagree. What types of disagreements come up when you're working on goals together? So use the sticky note again and put that on the board here.
Whatever, but I got a meeting to go into. Just
Sorry, Mary, I know you've come off mute a few times. I wasn't sure if you were talking with us or not, but I muted you. Again, sorry if you were talking to us.
We've got lack of effort. While you're thinking about that, I'm going to give you another example, and this one is from my own experience working with a family, working with a young man and his family in a wraparound team. And the young man wanted to get his driver's license. That was his goal. That's what he said, that's what I'm here for. That's what I want to work on. Well, the parent was upset because, hey, you're not addressing the behavior, the fact that you never come in on time. He was on probation, and the probation officer said, I'm not even talking to you about that because you haven't finished your community service hours. You have to do that first. Not doing well at school, failing grades. And so everyone said, no, we're not working on a driver's license. You have all this other stuff. Well, he was like, no, that's what I want to do. I'm not working on any of your stuff. So we kind of stopped and said, hang on a second. So you want to get your driver's license. And I think that's a great goal. I think it's something that you know, if that's what you want to work on, let's help you work on that. So in my state, in order to get your driver's license, there's a couple of things you have to do. You can't be on probation. So you have to finish that, and you have to have documentation that you finished it. So there's the probation officer's concerns. You have to go to school, and you have to have a note from the school saying that you're attending, that you're working towards, you know, on your grades, that sort of thing. So there's that issue. You know, there's a curfew if you're under a certain age as well, that you're not supposed to be out. So, you know, you don't want to get back on probation because then you start all over again. So that dealt with some of the things that Mom was concerned about. All of these are under a goal that was defined by that young person. And he did all those things. He finished his probation. He was going to school regularly. His grades came up. He graduated. You know, he got his license. And so he defined what his goal was, and we supported him in reaching that. It's not always what our priorities are, but a lot of times when youth or families define those, they take care of other things along the way that may be of concern for those who care about them. So again, there may be disagreements that come up, but they need to define the goal. So I see some of the things up here, disagreements, lack of support from family and others, yes. Let's see, knowing what's best. Oh, that's huge. I know in my training, in my master's program, I was taught that I was kind of the expert. But coming out of that, you know, in my early 20s, I didn't have kids, you know, and it took me a while to recognize that parents bring that expertise around their children, and I can bring some book knowledge and some training that I've had, and together, that's a powerful combo. But I didn't always know what was best. Priorities, yes, there's always disagreement around priorities. You know, what do you need to focus on first? Lack of information, lacking information in different languages than plain language, yes. Defining things. Sometimes families are not all on the same page. And that is true. If any of you have teenagers, have had teenagers, how often did you have the same priorities that they did? Not very often. So you're going to have different goals as you're going through those transition years. Clinical team establishing goals that participants aren't sure they really want to work on. Peers are encouraged to persuade the participant to buy in. I've seen that happening as well. And that's not the role of a peer support provider. Whether it's a youth peer support provider or a parent peer support provider, you know, our role is to help the family to understand what their options are, and to help them find their voice, to explain what works and doesn't work for them, what their priorities are, and support that. And sometimes that means that ends up being a mistake, the choice that they made, but it's their choice. And we're still there to support them. to come up with the next step. Not understanding the why behind a goal. Is that on the clinician or support provider's part or the family's part? Whoever put that one up, can you tell me a little bit about that? If you don't mind unmuting.
Did you say Deborah?
Whoever put not understanding the why behind a goal.
Oh, that wasn't me.
Oh,
Sorry.
that's okay. So whoever put that up, would you mind? Was it Phoebe?
No, it was me.
That's right.
Oh, it was Lee.
Yes,
Okay, go ahead, Lee.
I added to the chat, but I was referencing both, like whoever else is on the team, not understanding why a particular person's, what their reasoning is behind that particular goal.
Oh, yeah, I could see where that would cause disagreement. Okay, that makes sense. And lack of support from family and others, I think I already said that. The order of the goals not making sense to us. I've been on teams where, yeah, I was kind of going, huh? Why would we do that first? But that's what the family wanted to do. Not being aware of cultural differences and having a bias. Yes. We all have bias. We all have implicit bias. It does color and flavor the things we do unless we are intentionally self-aware and try not to do that and try to learn how to recognize and put that aside. And that happens for everybody. It happens with families too. Families have bias. A lot of times they've had experiences with systems that have led them to have healthy distrust too. Validated distrust. Okay, this is great. This is great. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. We have, let's see, I think we are at about 30 minutes left. So what I want to do with the rest of our time is I would like us to go into groups. What we are going to do is go into small groups, like 5 or 6 people. Let's see, we've got, oh, see, and I see our number go down as soon as I say we're going into groups and discuss, because people then run. But seriously, this is not going to be hard. We're going to go into groups. I want you to keep that Jamboard up because each group has a Jamboard. And I'm going to show you that in just a second. I would like you to talk about what are some of the common challenges that you run into when you are goal setting as part of a team, and then what are the strategies that you have? What have you used? Like the strategy that I used with the young man who wanted his license. You know, let's break that down some. Let's look at what it takes to get your license. And that dealt with so many other concerns that were happening. So we're going to do, pull this back up again. Up here, again, at the top of the Jamboard, you can see every group has this page. So when you get sorted into your group, if you're in group 1, you're going to use group 1's board. And you're going to use the sticky notes, put challenges, put strategies up here. This is so nobody has to be a note taker. Okay, trust me, this is going to be easier for you. Group 2 is on the next one. Group 3, you're on the next one, and so on. So we want you to put those things up and talk to each other. You can add that, and in your group, you know, just keep this up in front of you, add your things on there, and then you're going to do that in groups, and then we're going to come back in about, let's see, we've got 30 minutes. Let's give about 20 minutes, and that will leave us with 10 minutes to come back and talk. Does that sound good? Does that work, Bridget, Jasmine?
Sounds good.
Okay. A second for everybody to get back here.
No.
Oh, somebody's excited.
We all are.
Oh, good, good. That makes me excited.
I know, right? I'm feeling the energy. I'm like, whoa, it sounds like folks have had fun in their breakouts.
So thank you. I saw that a lot of people added things to the Jamboards, and there were some people that were still learning how to use it, and that's okay. But if you took notes, we'd love to see them. You can drop them in the chat, or you can send them to Bridget, or you can send them to me, and we can put them together. Bridget, if you want to put email addresses in the chat, that'd be awesome. Would anybody like to share any strategy that came out that you were like, wow, that was a good idea? Or did you find that you had commonalities? Oh, Mark, you unmuted.
Yeah.
So tag, you're it.
The using person first language is very key to break out the person from continuing to identify their struggle, whatever that is, or their mental health challenge, and bring them back to their humanness, and that they struggle with whatever the addiction, mental health challenge, or whatever it is that we're supporting, so that they can have a solid identity in their person, not in their struggle.
Yeah, not defined by a diagnosis or a challenge. That's and we were just talking, the three of us, while you were in groups, about words matter and how important it is, the terminology that we use. So it's so interesting that that's what you started with, and I love that.
Not only do words matter, but your tone matters also.
Yes, yes.
Body language matters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, the majority of our communication is nonverbal. So that's important, even in the virtual space. I'm seeing in the chat, voice and choice is so important. Strategy for any challenges of peer support was open discussion. Okay. Being present, energy, validation. Oh, validation's huge when you're trying to set some goals, and just validating that something is a struggle, or that things that have happened in the past that haven't worked well, you know, acknowledging that, and being willing to think about new ways of approaching issues. Were there any others?
My name is Yvonne. We were in group 6. And one very big word came up, and that is stigma.
Ooh. Yes.
So it's like if a family already has had negative experiences and they're bringing that to the table, it's like there's already going to be challenges there. And I would like to share our board, if I can do it quickly. Right, ladies? Group 6? Our challenges were...
Yes, please, please.
Yes, because
I'll
we
bring
did
it
a good
up.
job. Our challenges were stigma, trust, the lack of resources and support, figuring out the best approach based what is true and what we know, the differences in opinion, and not listening to the family's concerns or priorities, denial, the family being in denial or being ashamed. And our strategies were, everyone is significant. We want to allow them to feel that they are heard, having and showing empathy. If you can speak to the family individually to gather ideas to assist them, how can we help with resources? What resources do you need? A lot of times we want to dictate and let them and tell them, you know, what we have, but sometimes it's good to ask them. We agree to disagree. We all come from different backgrounds, and if we as a group are working as a team, we may not come up with the same answers, but okay, what works best? Break it down into baby steps. Establish everyone's role, to-dos. Work from where the family is. Work and communicate with humility. Be a listener. No right or wrong question nor answer.
Mhm. Those are awesome. Which group was that? Because I did not see anything on the Jamboard for group 6.
Group 6. So we started out with group 6, but at the top it said group 4. So we might have ended up in group 4 because some people
Okay.
didn't show. Yes.
Yeah, I added that
see it.
to the chat that we're so sorry if we messed up group 4.
It is perfectly fine. No, that's not a problem at all. Like I said, we wanted to gather people's ideas and challenges as well as their strategies. And so all of those we want to pull together into something to put out. That was fire group 6. Yes, it was. Group 3, you have notes, but you didn't use Jamboard, and that is okay. If you'll send us those notes, we'd really appreciate it. I like that Scarlett shared not everyone's challenges are the same, and Marcia said relax and be authentic, reflect more, helping to realize and utilize their own strengths and abilities. Yeah, Bridget, we're definitely going to need the chat as well.
I shall send it.
Yeah, this is great. Okay, thank you so much for sharing today. So we're considering this sort of being part of what we do going forward with this series. Having this type of aspect to it where you can talk to each other. And Jamboard's going to go away in October. We're very sad about that. Google's decided to discontinue it. However, Zoom has a whiteboard that does the same thing. So we will find a way to make this work. But if everyone found this helpful to be able to talk to each other, we can still present information and kind of mix it up each time. But we definitely want to continue this series based on what works for you. So thank you for being part of it today. We are about out of time. Is there anything else that anyone else would like to share before we close out? Love the topic today. Need more of this. That's cool.
I did really quick. I'll just say this because I know we're getting ready to close, but being able to talk to other people that do what we all do, just to see what's working and what isn't. We were group 3 and I wrote a lot of notes. And we were just seeing where we really came up with a lot more strategies. Like the challenges are what they are, right? But everybody really did start to talk about how we do it. And so for me, I'd love to be on any kind of call where people are talking about what works in their area. And thank you very much to group 3 for you guys we had a good discussion.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that everyone found this helpful. And having the opportunity to learn from each other, that's my favorite kind of learning. It really is. So going forward, we may have some information sharing happening, but we will keep this element in the PACT series since you found it helpful. So that's awesome. All right. Bridget,
And peer supporters need other peer supporters in that. So connect with each other, whether that's by email, phone, LinkedIn, whatever, having a few different people to reach out to is great. I put my LinkedIn down there, so feel free to shoot me a connect.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, please connect beyond this. What we may also do is there may be times that it's good to have like the group of the peer supporters and the group of the clinicians to talk about something from their perspective and then come back together. There's lots of ways we can do this. So I appreciate the feedback. Bridget did put in the chat the survey. There we go. Yeah. So Bridget, I'm sorry, go ahead. Yvonne?
I think that it makes a big difference that the clinicians come together with the peer support.
Yes.
There's a difference between theory and practical. When you're just in the book knowledge, you have one aspect, but when you're out in the field and you're interacting with the people, it's totally different. And then you have that gap in communication. Oh, I have this expertise and you don't. But it all comes together when we learn from one another with humility.
Well said. Well said. I am having to run to another meeting, so I was just letting them know I'm on my way. Yeah, Jasmine has to hop as well. So thank you so much. I really enjoyed spending time with you today, and going forward, I'll be one of the main facilitators. So we're going to have a good continuing series, and I hope you have a great